Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Your presence means the world to me. We're thrilled to present to you our video dedicated to WLAJ. Enjoy. WLAJ Channel 53 is a television station in Lansing, Michigan, United States, affiliated with ABC. Its second digital sub-channel serves as a de facto owned and operated station of the CW via the CW+. WLAJ is owned by Mission Broadcasting, which maintains a shared services agreement SSA with Nexstar Media Group, owner of CBS affiliate WLNS-TV Channel 6, for the provision of certain services. The stations share studios on East Saginaw Street on Lansing's east side and transmit using WIS spectrum from a tower on Van Atta Road in Okemos, Michigan. A construction permit was granted for Channel 53 in 1981 but remained dormant for almost a decade. Joel Ferguson, a Lansing developer and politician who had previously started WFSL-TV Channel 47 in 1982, bought the dormant permit in 1989 and signed WLAJ on for the first time on October 13, 1990. Ferguson quickly landed an affiliation deal with ABC after conforming channel's signal to protect nearby ABC affiliates in Detroit, Flint, and Battle Creek. This issue had stymied Ferguson's attempts to win an ABC affiliation for WFSL, leaving Lansing as one of the largest markets without full service from the Big Three networks. The station started airing local newscasts shortly after signing on, but the newscasts failed to attract viewers and were discontinued after 17 months. Under the management of Granite Broadcasting and for most of the ownership of Freedom Communications, WLAJ produced local newscasts featuring more unconventional formats but could not pull viewers from the dominant WLNS-TV and WILX-TV, and the last independent newscast effort was discontinued in September 2009. Sinclair Broadcast Group acquired Freedom in 2012 but spun WLAJ off to Shield Media, which in turn entered into the shared services agreement with WLNS-TV. Channel 53 began airing simulcasts of that station's morning and evening newscasts. Mission Broadcasting, a company known for operating stations on behalf of Nexstar, acquired WLAJ from Shield in 2020. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting history and exploring its implications in greater detail. The Lansing-Jackson television market was dominated by two major commercial VHF stations, WJIM-TV, now WLNS-TV on Channel 6, and WILX-TV Channel 10, since the latter station began in 1959. In the late years, interest emerged in activating a third local station on a UHF channel, Channel 36, then allocated to Lansing. 3 applicants had already filed for the channel by 1979. Benko Broadcasting was owned by 2 brothers, one of whom was a judge in Sanilac County. SCOM News, primarily owned by former Lansing City Councilman Joel Ferguson and business partner Sol Stedman, and Karkin Broadcasting Corporation, whose primary stakeholder, Donald Haney, was a television personality in Detroit. On August 4, 1980, the Federal Communications Commission (FCC) issued a ruling that complicated the picture for the Channel 36 applicants. It changed the channel allocation from 36 to 47 as part of changes in 5 Michigan and Ohio cities, necessary to conform with a new Canadian table of allocations for UHF channels. This was not a trivial change for the Lansing applicants, as Channel 47 was short-spaced with location restrictions. These restrictions, to Channel 62 in Detroit, had led the FCC in 1967 to allot Channel 36 instead of 47 at Lansing. In restoring Channel 47 to Lansing, the FCC gave the existing applicants from the Channel 36 case the opportunity to keep the short-spaced channel or specify Lansing's other UHF channel, Channel 53. SCOM News was the only applicant who chose Channel 47 and received a construction permit in December 1981. The firm began broadcasting December 1, 1982. as WFSL, an independent station. Benko and Kharkim opted for Channel 53, and the FCC declared a comparative hearing for their applications in May 1981. In lieu of a hearing proceeding, the parties settled. Benko reimbursed Kharkim for $29,900 in expenses pursuing its application and came away with the permit in an agreement approved that December. Though Benko Broadcasting proposed in 1983 to build WLAJ as a second independent, owner Robert Benko fretted that competition with Channel 47 would drive up prices for programming. Later, Charles McRovey, former owner of Lansing radio station WILS, became a stakeholder in Benko Broadcasting and built a transmitter building and 100th tower. One of the reasons Channel 36 had initially attracted interest was that at the time, Lansing was the largest market without an in-market ABC affiliate. At the time, WJRT-TV in Flint was reckoned as the default ABC affiliate in the capital. Other parts of the market could watch the network over the air on WHQ in Battle Creek or WXYZ-TV in Detroit. However, cable was often necessary to get a good ABC signal, particularly in Jackson. Ferguson had sought an ABC affiliation for WFSL when it launched, but ABC balked, principally due to significant signal overlaps with WXYZ-TV, which ABC owned at the time, WJRT, and particularly WHQ. When the construction permit for Channel 47 was awarded, the FCC dismissed a protest by WHQ-TV, which sought to establish translators in Jackson and Lansing. With our curiosity piqued, let's embark on a dedicated exploration of construction, early years, and 53 Newsbeat and its fascinating intricacies. On March 10, 1989, Benko Broadcasting filed to sell the WLAJ construction permit to Lansing 53, Inc., a company owned by Joel Ferguson. Ferguson and Stedman had sold WFSL less than 5 years earlier to the Journal Company, who changed the call letters to WSYM-TV. The sale came after McRovey decided he was not the right person to build the TV station. The reactivation of plans for Channel 53 immediately started to unlock the ABC logjam. Neither ABC nor the newer Fox network had an affiliate in the Lansing market, and ABC was seen to be in the driver's seat with a choice of possible affiliates WSYM or WLAJ. The FCC granted final approval for the WLAJ sale in March 1990, leaving ABC with the decision between WSYM and WLAJ as its local affiliate. In a bid to court the network, Ferguson redesigned the signal pattern to protect WJRT and WHQ. This was successful, and on May 23, 1990, ABC awarded the Lansing affiliation to WLAJ. To set up Lansing's third TV news department, Ferguson hired former WLNS news director Bruce Cornelius, news anchor Warren Williams, a graduate of Lansing's Sexton High School and former student at Michigan State University, was hired to present channel's evening newscasts. Weeknight Sports was presented by Mark Wilson, who had been a popular weekend sportscaster at WILX. From studios in the former Danbros Appliance store on Pennsylvania Avenue, WLAJ began broadcasting on October 13, 1990, with the highlight of its first day on air an ABC college football telecast featuring Michigan versus Michigan State. Its debut led cable systems to remove another ABC affiliate from their lineups, with some choosing WHQ and others WJRT. On October 29, the station aired its first 53 Newsbeat newscasts. 53 Newsbeat made little impact in the local television ratings. In its first ratings test, the November 1990 Arbitron survey, was newscasts attracted less than 1% of the audience compared to 17% for WLNS and 14% for WILX. Williams was fired after less than a year before being rehired to report and host cut-ins during Good Morning America. Less than 2 months after instituting Saturday newscasts for the first time, WLAJ discontinued 53 News beat on April 3, 1992. The newscasts were replaced with simulcasts of Wlaj's Action News. Ferguson cited the dismal ratings, even though he had decided to drop the newscast even before the latest ratings report came out. He also cited the cost savings and Wlaj's superior coverage of news events, including the Michigan State Capitol. Wilson was the only news staffer whose contract had to be honored. He was retained to produce local sports inserts over Wlaj's early newscasts. Dave Hoger of the Jackson Citizen-Patriot noted that 53 Newsbeat never quite rose to the level of its on-air presentation and that viewers had become very accustomed to the news on WLNS or WILX. According to Hoger, during its first two ratings periods, Nielsen was unable to rate Wlaj's newscasts because its viewership was too small to generate an adequate sample. At one point, its newscasts drew lower ratings than syndicated programming on WSYM. Wilson left for Detroit's WJBK a few weeks into the experiment. Cornelius stayed on to produce editorials before he was dismissed in January 1993. The WXYZ newscasts continued to air until June 1996. After the suspension and departure of star WXYZ anchorman Bill Bonds in 1995, ratings had fallen significantly for the simulcasts. Now, let's redirect our focus towards Ferguson to Granite to Freedom and discover its significance in our narrative. In 1996, Ferguson sold almost half of Wlaj's stock to Paul Brissett, leading to speculation that Channel 53 would enter a local marketing agreement LMA with WILX, which Brissett was selling at the time. Ferguson instead agreed to contract Granite Broadcasting to manage WLAJ. Granite had entered Michigan the year by buying WWMT in Kalamazoo for $95 million. And that station's general manager assumed responsibility for WLAJ. Granite did not immediately buy WLAJ, valued at $19.40 million, because of the signal overlap between the Lansing and Kalamazoo stations. Granite identified restoring a newscast as a top priority, promising $3 million in spending on the station, including restoring news. ABC 53 News now debuted on August 25, 1997. The newscast featured several staff transferred from WWMT, including anchor Joe Parker. It utilized a faster pace and dispensed with some traditional conventions, including a desk-based set and in-house weather forecasts. In its first ratings survey, the new ABC 53 News now again failed to attract 1% of the audience. The contrast was increased by the debut weeks later of a 10 p.m. newscast at WSYM, which drew 4% audience share. Granite agreed to acquire KOFY-TV in San Francisco in late 1997. To fund the purchase, the company opted to sell WWMT and WLAJ to Freedom Communications for a total of $170 million. This transaction encountered a complication when the owner of the WLAJ transmitter site in Tompkins Township, claiming non-payment of rent, threatened to evict the station, thereby forcing it off the air if it were not paid $284,000 or if the station did not spend $2.10 million to buy the property outright. A Jackson County judge ruled that Granite had met the conditions of creditworthiness necessary to force Tompkins to agree to the transaction. The half-hour news now format was discontinued in January 2001 in response to continued low ratings. The 6 and 11 p.m. newscasts were reformatted as the ABC 53 News Express, a 10-minute newscast. The remainder of the half-hour was filled with a public affairs and debate program, On Point, also hosted by Parker. During this time, WLAJ served as the local sales representative for the WB station group, selling the advertisements seen by local WB viewers on cable. It assumed this responsibility from WILX in 2000. It also managed WHTV Channel 18, the regional UPN affiliate, under an LMA with Venture Technologies Group, WH-TV switched service providers to WLNS-TV in 2006. Some station operations moved from Lansing to WWNT in Kalamazoo in 2005. In 2007, WLAJ hired Suzanne Wangler, known on air as Suzanne Page, to anchor its newscasts. Wangler had once been a weekend anchor at WILX before working at several positions in and out of television in Detroit. After WXYZ aired a report exposing her various legal issues, she resigned in February 2008. She hung herself days later after learning she faced indictment for embezzling money from a man she'd financially advised. The station expanded its early evening news to an hour in October 2008 but reversed course and discontinued all long-form local newscasts in September 2009, citing continued low ratings. WWMT continued to provide limited news breaks and weather. In the following segment, we'll be examining common operation with WLNS in greater detail. Freedom announced on November 2, 2011, that it would bow out of television and sell its stations, including WLAJ, to the Sinclair Broadcast Group. The deal closed on April 2, 2012. On October 11, Sinclair filed to sell WLAJ to Shield Media, owned by White Knight Broadcasting Vice President Sheldon Galloway, for $14.40 million. Shield immediately turned over operations to WLNS-TV and its owner, Young Broadcasting. Shield had previously bought WXXA-TV in Albany, New York, and outsourced its operations to a Young-owned station there. As WLNS was already managing WH-TV, this gave Young operational control of 3 stations in the Lansing market. After FCC approval, the sale was completed on March 1, 2013. After the sale to Shield was finalized, WLAJ moved its operations into WLNS studios. It began simulcasting newscasts from WLNS-TV at 6 and 11 p.m. and in mornings over the course of April 2013. WLNS management believed the simulcasts would expose additional viewers to their newscasts by offering ABC programming as a lead-in addition to CBS programming and by way of was better signal at the time in the southern portion of the market. WH-TV, whose owner Spartan TV objected to the WLAJ arrangement amid possible fears it would be pushed out, signed a new agreement with WSYM-TV in July 2014. During this time, WLNS-TV changed hands twice as part of larger transactions. Media General merged with Young in November 2013, and Nexstar Broadcasting Group acquired Media General in January 2017. In 2017, WLNS sold its spectrum in the incentive auction for $13.60 million and entered into a channel sharing agreement with WLAJ, which began broadcasting WLNS from its transmitter on June 11, 2018. As a result of the repack to clear the 600 ms band, the stations moved from Channel 25 to Channel 14 on January 17, 2020. On August 21, 2020, it was announced that Mission Broadcasting would acquire WLAJ. The acquisition was completed on November 23. Get ready for an enlightening exploration as we dig into sub-channels and understand its role in the broader context. Scope = license, scope = channel, scope = raise. Scope = aspect, scope = short name, scope = programming, raspan = scope = row style border right, x solidufk, WLAJ scope = row 53.1 up, WLAJ DT ABC scope = row 53.2 the CW plus scope = row style border right, x solid, WLNS-TV scope = row 6.1 EWLNS-TV CBS. Subchannels of WLAJ and WLNS-TV. If you have any suggestions for future videos, feel free to drop them in the comments section.